There's no room for you, my family said years on every holiday. But they always found a place for my sister and her family. I kept quiet, but this year I bought a house in Florida, and they said, we've packed our bags. My answer: let's go. My name is Jenna, and I'm 30 years old. I live in Florida, where I work in marketing for a tech company. I've been doing pretty well for myself, though my family never really asks about my job or how I'm doing. They're always too busy with other things. Every December, I make the long drive from Florida to my parents' house for Christmas. It's a trip across several states, and I always bring gifts for everyone: my parents, my older sister Sarah, her husband Mike, and their 2 kids, Emma who's 7 now and Jake who's 5. I usually spend weeks picking out the perfect presents, hoping this year will be different. The thing is, for the past few years, I've had to book a hotel room in advance because there's never any space for me at my parents' house. It started 7 years ago, and I'll never forget that first Christmas when everything changed. I was 23 then, fresh out of college and excited to spend the holidays at home. Sarah was pregnant with Emma and had come to stay with her husband Mike. His parents and his sister had also come to visit. When I arrived, the house was packed, but I figured I'd just sleep in my old room like always. After dinner, I was exhausted from the drive and went upstairs to rest. But when I opened my bedroom door, I found suitcases everywhere and clothes laid out on my bed. I went back downstairs, confused. "Mom, there's stuff in my room," I said. "Oh, we gave that room to Mike's parents," she replied without looking up from the dishes. "They need somewhere comfortable to sleep." I stared at her. "Where am I supposed to sleep then?" She shrugged. "You should have thought about that before coming." "I could sleep on the couch in the living room," I suggested. "Mike's sister is sleeping there," Dad chimed in from his recliner. I felt my stomach drop. So where exactly am I supposed to sleep? Mom finally looked at me, and her expression was cold. "Maybe you should find somewhere else to stay tonight. There's just no room." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own parents were kicking me out of the house on Christmas Eve. I called my friend Jessica from high school, who still lived in town. Thankfully, she let me stay at her place that night. I remember lying awake on her couch, staring at the ceiling and wondering what I'd done wrong. The next morning, I went back to my parents' house for Christmas morning, but the damage was done. Everyone acted like nothing had happened, but I felt like an outsider in my own family. That's when I started booking hotel rooms in advance. I wasn't going to be caught off guard again. So this year, just like the past years, I had a reservation at the local Holiday Inn. I threw my suitcase in my Honda Civic and made the drive north, the trunk full of carefully wrapped presents. When I pulled into my parents' driveway, I could see several cars already there. I took a deep breath and grabbed the bags of gifts from my trunk. The front door wasn't even locked. It never was when the house was full of people. I walked in and was hit by the smell of turkey and the sound of multiple conversations happening at once. "Jenna's here," someone called out, but nobody really stopped what they were doing to greet me properly. I saw Sarah in the kitchen, looking stressed as she juggled baby Emma while trying to help Mom with dinner preparations. Mike was in the living room with his dad, watching football and drinking beer. His mom was sitting at the kitchen table, giving unsolicited advice about the meal preparation. "Hi everyone," I said, setting the gift bags down by the Christmas tree. "Oh good, you can help set the table," Mom said immediately, not even asking how my drive was or if I was tired. "We need the good china out, and make sure you get the crystal glasses from the cabinet." I nodded and got to work. This was how it always went. I'd arrive and immediately be put to work while everyone else relaxed. Finally, we all sat down for dinner. The table was crowded, and I ended up squeezed between my dad and Mike's sister, trying to make conversation while everyone else talked over me. "So how's work going, Mike?" Dad asked, launching into the same topics they always covered. "Really great, actually," Mike replied. "I just got promoted to senior manager, and they're talking about having me lead the new project next quarter." "That's wonderful." Mike's mom beamed. "We're so proud of you." The conversation continued like this for the next hour. Sarah talked about the kids, Mike talked about work, and his parents shared stories about their recent vacation. I sat there, eating my turkey and waiting for someone to ask me something. Anything. Finally, Mike's mom turned to me. "And what about you, Jenna? What are you up to these days?" I felt a spark of hope, actually. I just got promoted to senior marketing manager at my company. It's been really exciting because I'm leading this new campaign that— "Oh, that's nice," she interrupted, already looking bored. "But that's not really the same thing as what Mike does, is it? I mean, marketing is fine, but Mike's in real business management." I felt my face burn. "Well, marketing is actually a pretty important part of Dash." "I'm sure it is, dear," she said dismissively. "Sarah, tell us more about Emma's progress in school." And just like that, the conversation moved on. My parents didn't say a word to defend me or show interest in my accomplishments. They just nodded along as the focus shifted back to Sarah's family. I finished my dinner in silence, watching my family laugh and talk around me like I wasn't even there. This was supposed to be Christmas, supposed to be about family and togetherness. Instead, I felt more alone than ever. After dinner, everyone moved to the living room. Mike's parents claimed the best spots on the couch, while his sister stretched out in Dad's favorite recliner. I ended up sitting on the floor near the Christmas tree, which felt fitting since that's apparently where I ranked in this family hierarchy. Remember when Sarah was little and she tried to stay up all night to catch Santa? Mom laughed, ruffling my sister's hair. She made it until about 10:30 and then crashed right here on the rug. What about when Jenna did the same thing? I asked, remembering my own childhood attempt. Did she? Mom looked genuinely confused, like she couldn't recall that memory at all. Yeah. When I was 6, I hid behind the couch and fell asleep there. You found me in the morning and said I looked like a little angel. Mom said vaguely, already turning back to Sarah. Well, anyway, Sarah was always so determined about everything. The conversation continued without me, as usual. They talked about Sarah's childhood, Mike's childhood, even his sister's childhood. It was like my own memories didn't exist or didn't matter enough to remember. By 11:30, I was exhausted. The drive had been long, and the emotional toll of being ignored all evening was wearing on me. But I was determined to make it to midnight. I wanted to hug my family and wish them Merry Christmas, hoping that maybe in that moment, things would feel normal. Finally, the clock struck 12. Merry Christmas. Everyone shouted, and there were hugs and kisses all around. For a brief moment, I felt included as my parents hugged me and Sarah squeezed my hand. As the excitement died down and people started talking about heading to bed, I quietly slipped upstairs to gather my things. I'd left my overnight bag in the hallway, knowing I wouldn't be staying but not wanting to make a big deal about it earlier. I was folding my clothes back into my bag when I heard footsteps behind me. Actually, Jenna, I need to talk to you about tomorrow, Mom said. I looked up from my bag. What about tomorrow? Well, it might be better if you didn't come by tomorrow. You know, for gift exchange and everything. I felt like I'd been slapped. What? Why? Your Aunt Linda is coming to visit. She's driving up from Jacksonville with her family, and you know how things are between you two. My stomach dropped. Aunt Linda, the woman who had made my childhood miserable with her constant criticism and comparisons to Sarah. Even thinking about her made my hands shake with anger. I remembered that day so clearly. I was 15 and had been having a particularly rough time at school. Some kids were bullying me, and I was struggling with my self-esteem. Aunt Linda had come for Easter, and within an hour of arriving, she'd started in on me. Look at you, getting so chubby, she'd said in front of everyone. Sarah was never this heavy at your age. And your hair, when was the last time you brushed it properly? You look like you just rolled out of bed. I'd tried to ignore her, but she kept going. Your grades aren't as good as Sarah's were either, are they? She was always the smart one. You really need to try harder, Jenna. People are going to think your parents didn't raise you right. Finally, I'd snapped, maybe you'd look smarter if you didn't spend all your time insulting other people in public. The room had gone dead silent. Aunt Linda's face had turned bright red, and she'd started crying and screaming about how disrespectful I was. My parents had been mortified and had grounded me for a month, taking away my phone and forbidding me from seeing my friends. From that day on, Aunt Linda had refused to come to any family gathering if I was going to be there. And apparently, my parents had decided she was more important than their own daughter. So you're choosing her over me? I asked quietly. It's not about choosing sides, Jenna. It's just easier this way. She's driving all the way up here with her kids. You can see us another time. I stared at her for a long moment. My own mother was kicking me out of Christmas morning because my aunt, who had spent years tearing me down, didn't want to be in the same room as me. And somehow, I was the problem. Fine, I said quietly, I won't come tomorrow. Good, I knew you'd understand. I finished packing my bag in silence while Mom stood there watching me. Part of me wanted to scream, to tell her exactly how much this hurt, to demand that she choose her daughter over her sister-in-law for once. But I knew it wouldn't matter. It never did. I'll see you later, Mom, I said, slinging my bag over my shoulder. Drive safely, honey. The roads might be icy. I walked downstairs, past the living room where everyone was still talking and laughing. Nobody noticed me leave. I got in my car and drove to the Holiday Inn, where the desk clerk wished me a Merry Christmas with more warmth than my own family had shown me all evening. In my hotel room, I sat on the bed and looked at my phone. I thought about calling Jessica, but it was late and she had her own family to worry about. Instead, I ordered room service and ate a piece of chocolate cake while watching old Christmas movies on TV. As I lay in bed that night, I made a decision. I was done trying to force myself into a family that clearly didn't want me there. I was done being treated like a second-class citizen in my own family. Tomorrow, instead of going to my parents' house to watch everyone else exchange gifts while I sat in the corner, I was going to drive home to Florida. I was going to start focusing on building a life that actually made me happy, instead of chasing after people who would never appreciate me no matter what I did. The next morning, I checked out of the hotel. I didn't call my parents to say goodbye. I figured they probably wouldn't even notice I was gone. The drive back to Florida was long but peaceful. I had time to think about everything that had happened, and by the time I reached my apartment, I felt lighter somehow. I'd finally stopped pretending that my family cared about me the way I cared about them. I spent the rest of the Christmas holidays relaxing at home. I watched movies, read books, and caught up with friends. Jessica called to check on me after I told her what happened, and she was furious on my behalf. "They did what?" she said. "Jenna, that's completely insane. You're their daughter." "I know, but I'm done fighting for scraps of their attention. I'm 30 years old, and I need to focus on my own life." And that's exactly what I did. I threw myself into work with renewed energy. The promotion I'd gotten came with more responsibilities and better pay, which my family would have known if they'd bothered to ask. I was making really good money now, way more than they realized. For the past 8 years, I'd been saving up to buy a house. I'd always dreamed of having my own place, somewhere I could decorate however I wanted and where I'd always be welcome. Living in the rental apartment was fine, but I wanted something that was truly mine. 4 months after that disastrous Christmas, I decided it was time. I called my friend Dave, who's a realtor, and told him I was ready to start looking. We spent a month looking at different properties. I wanted something with at least 4 bedrooms, close to the ocean if possible, and with a nice yard. Dave showed me probably 20 houses before we found the perfect one. It was a beautiful 2-story house with 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a gorgeous kitchen with granite countertops. The backyard had a pool, and you could see the ocean from the master bedroom window. The moment I walked through the front door, I knew it was mine. The paperwork took a few weeks, but finally, I had the keys to my own house. I couldn't believe it. After years of saving and dreaming, I was actually a homeowner. I spent the next few weeks furnishing it exactly how I wanted. I bought comfortable furniture, hung artwork I loved, and set up a home office in one of the spare bedrooms. The other bedrooms I turned into a guest room and a hobby room where I could do my crafting. Once everything was settled, I threw a housewarming party. I invited all my close friends, my coworkers, and even some neighbors I'd met. We had a great time grilling by the pool and showing everyone around the house. People kept telling me how proud they were of me for achieving this goal. Notably, I didn't invite my family. I didn't even tell them I'd bought a house. Why would I? They'd never shown interest in my life before, and I doubted they'd start now. Months passed, and I settled into my new routine. I loved coming home to my own place every day. I loved having friends over whenever I wanted. I loved that every decision about the house was mine to make. As the next Christmas approached, I realized I hadn't talked to my family since that awful night almost a year ago. I'd sent birthday texts to my parents and Sarah, just basic happy birthday messages, but that was it. Nobody had called me. Nobody had asked how I was doing. It was like I didn't exist to them. Then, 4 weeks before Christmas, my phone rang. It was Mom. "Hi Jenna," she said, sounding oddly nervous. "Hi Mom, what's up?" "Well, Christmas is coming up, and I wanted to let you know that you shouldn't plan on coming this year." I almost laughed. Did she really think I was planning to put myself through that again? "Why not?" I asked, curious to hear her excuse. "Aunt Linda is coming again, and you know how she feels about seeing you. It's just easier for everyone if you stay home this year." "Don't worry about it, Mom. I wasn't planning on coming anyway. I'm celebrating Christmas at my own house this year." Another pause, longer this time. "Your own house, what do you mean?" I grinned, even though she couldn't see me. "I bought a house a few months ago. It's got 4 bedrooms and it's right near the ocean. I'm having friends over for Christmas." The silence stretched on for so long I thought the call had dropped. "You bought a house?" Her voice sounded strange. "How did you afford a house?" "I saved up for it. I've been planning this for years." "Well, that's wonderful, honey. You should have told us. We would have loved to come to a housewarming party." Now it was my turn to pause. I already had the housewarming party. It was great. "Without us?" "Mom, when have you ever shown interest in anything I do? You didn't even want to hear about my promotion last Christmas." "That's not fair, Jenna. We care about you. Maybe we could come see the house sometime. Maybe we could all spend New Year's there, or I have to go, Mom." "Like you said, it's better if we don't see each other this Christmas." I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking a little, but I felt good. For once, I'd had something they wanted instead of the other way around. Within a few hours, my phone started buzzing with texts from Sarah. Mom told me you bought a house, why didn't you tell us? Send me pictures, I can't believe you kept this secret. Are you seriously not going to invite your own family to see your new place? I finally responded, if you guys had ever bothered to ask about my life, you would have known I was doing well enough to buy a house. I make good money and I've been saving for years. Sarah didn't respond to that. Then, just a few days later, Mom called again. This was 2 weeks before Christmas. Jenna, I need your address, she said without any greeting. We've all talked it over, and we've decided to spend Christmas at your house this year. Isn't that wonderful? We've already packed our bags and we're ready to fly down. I was so shocked I couldn't speak for a moment. We're all coming, she continued excitedly. Me and your father, Sarah and Mike and the kids, Mike's parents and his sister, and Aunt Linda is so excited to spend Christmas in Florida near the beach. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. You're serious? You chose everyone else over me. And now you think you can just show up at my house because it's convenient for you? We're family, Jenna. Of course, we can stay with you. Sorry, but I don't have any rooms available for you. The line went quiet. I'd used the exact same words they'd used on me for all those years. Jenna, that's not funny. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm serious. I don't have space for you, and I don't want you here. But we've already packed. We bought plane tickets. Then you should have asked me first instead of just assuming. I hung up the phone, and this time, I was smiling. After I hung up on Mom, my phone immediately started ringing again. I could see it was Sarah calling, but I didn't pick up. Then it rang again, and again. They called me probably 15 times that evening, but I ignored every single call. Finally, Sarah gave up calling and started texting instead. Jenna, what the hell is wrong with you? Mom told me what you said. You're being ridiculous. We're your family. You can't just cut us out like this. It's Christmas. Why are you being so selfish? We just want to spend the holidays together. I finally responded, you mean you want to spend the holidays at my house, using my space, after you kicked me out of yours for years? That's not the same thing. After that, Sarah stopped texting. But my parents kept calling. Every few hours, one of them would try to reach me. I stopped answering my phone altogether unless I recognized the number as a friend or coworker. The 2 weeks leading up to Christmas were actually peaceful once I put my phone on silent. I decorated my house exactly how I wanted, bought ingredients for a feast with my friends, and made plans for our celebration. No stress about family drama, no walking on eggshells, no being ignored or dismissed. Christmas Day was absolutely perfect. My friends came over around noon, and we spent the whole day cooking together, playing games by the pool, and just enjoying each other's company. Everyone kept telling me how beautiful my house was and how proud they were of what I'd accomplished. The day after Christmas, I was curious enough to check social media. I scrolled through Facebook and found a post from Sarah. It was a photo of the whole family gathered around my parents' Christmas tree, but something was off about it. Everyone looked miserable. Dad was slumped in his chair looking exhausted. Mom had this forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mike's parents looked uncomfortable, and even the kids seemed subdued. Sarah herself looked angry in the photo, like someone had made her pose for it. The caption under the photo made me laugh out loud, Christmas 2024 with the family. We had hoped to celebrate somewhere warmer this year, but some people's selfishness ruined our plans. Sometimes family disappoints you. Within an hour, there were comments from various relatives asking what happened. What do you mean, who disappointed you? Is everything okay? What plans got ruined? But Sarah didn't respond to any of them. She just left that passive-aggressive post hanging there for everyone to see. A few days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I wouldn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jenna, this is your Aunt Linda. My blood immediately started boiling. How did you get my number? Your mother gave it to me. I think we need to talk. No. We really don't. Listen here, young lady. I don't know what's gotten into you, but the way you treated your family over Christmas was absolutely disgraceful. I felt that familiar anger rising, but this time I wasn't 15 years old and afraid to speak up. The way I treated them? Are you serious right now? Your poor parents saved up money for plane tickets to come visit you, and you slammed the door in their faces. Do you have any idea how selfish that was? Let me stop you right there, I said, my voice getting stronger. First of all, they didn't ask if they could visit. They demanded my address and told me they were coming whether I wanted them or not. Well, of course they did. Your family. Really? Because for the past 7 years, they've made it very clear that I'm not welcome in their house during the holidays. But suddenly when I have something they want, a nice house in Florida near the beach, now I'm family again? Aunt Linda was quiet for a moment, but then she started up again. You're being vindictive and nasty. This isn't how we raised you. We? We didn't raise me, Linda. You spent my entire childhood telling me I was stupid and fat and worthless. You compared me to Sarah every chance you got. And when I finally stood up for myself, my parents punished me. That's not how I remember it. Of course, it isn't. But here's what I remember. You wanted to come to my house for Christmas so you could vacation in Florida for free and swim in the ocean. Well, guess what? You can pay for your own hotel room next time. How dare you speak to me like that? How dare I? Linda, you called me. You got my number from my parents so you could call and yell at me. But I'm not a kid anymore, and I don't have to listen to your garbage. Your parents are heartbroken. My parents haven't cared about my feelings for years. They only care now because I have something they want. If they were actually heartbroken, they would have called to apologize, not sent you to guilt trip me. You are being absolutely ridiculous, and you are never calling me again. Don't contact me. Don't ask my parents for my number, and definitely don't ever expect to be invited to my house. You made your choice about me a long time ago, and I'm making mine now. I hung up before she could respond. The next few months passed quietly. I didn't hear from my family at all, which was honestly a relief. I focused on my work, spent time with friends, and enjoyed my beautiful house. I traveled a bit, took up some new hobbies, and for the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. I didn't miss the drama. I didn't miss feeling like I wasn't good enough. I didn't miss being the family servant who got ignored until they needed something done. Sometimes I wondered if they missed me at all, or if they only missed having someone to push around. Based on how quickly they'd moved on to radio silence, I had my answer. I'd spent 30 years trying to earn love and respect from people who were never going to give it to me. Now I was surrounded by friends who appreciated me for who I was, not what I could do for them.